I'm not going to start with any easy questions.
What would you do if you couldn't fail?
I was vulnerable in the sense of I was just who I was.
The cold exposure conditions the inside of our body to literally adapt.
Whatever happens in the gut happens in the brain, and whatever happens in the brain happens in the gut.
Finding the grace and the humor.
Anti-aging is associated with at least an hour of deep sleep nightly.
Absolutely had mentors, absolutely 100% had coaches.
90+% of the decisions that we make today actually stem from fear.
Allow ourselves to have imperfection.
Nothing starts without a plan, nothing ever goes to plan.
Chaga is actually the most antioxidant rich food on the planet.
If we can bring a practice into our lives that helps us be more vulnerable. I'm so thrilled that this content is getting out there, that you guys are promoting bold and vulnerable message and aspirations for people, because I hope that we can all really live that every day.
Hey, this is Jessica.
And Svetlana, and you're listening to the Bold and Vulnerable podcast,
where we aim to inspire others to live authentically through sharing the bold and vulnerable stories of peak performers across a variety of industries. Hey guys, it's Jessica here, and you know I love my coffee. We have recently partnered with a company called La Repubblica Coffee. They are completely fair trade, they are non-GMO and all vegan, which you guys know I'm vegan, so I'm totally a fan. But the cool thing is that this is a mushroom coffee company. You know, sometimes people feel stuck in their coffee routine. They feel like they can't live with it, they can't live without it. Maybe coffee makes them feel overwhelmed. This coffee completely makes you feel so zen. It gives you a peace of mind and well-being and a clean energy jolt. You don't have any jitters that you get with coffee because the cordyceps really help to regulate the intake of caffeine from the coffee. It's a rich source of vitamin D, E, and many other things that help your immune function and optimal health. It's a perfect way to incorporate high beneficial superfoods into your morning routine. I love to start my morning with just a smooth cup.
This morning, I was so freaking excited because I ordered my bulk order. I'm telling you, George and I were literally waiting by the door yesterday. I'm not joking. And finally they came at like 7 and we were so excited, and George and I were like, should we drink this now?
Yeah, listeners, you guys are going to be so excited because you get 15% off all of your orders by using the code vulnerable, all caps 15. So vulnerable 15, all caps.
We only partner with companies that we believe in here at Bold and Vulnerable because we really value honesty and just being truthful to our audience. Being a working mom and entrepreneur, you really want to have all the hacks possible at your fingertips. So I'm so freaking excited to be partnering with this company.
Everyone that I've talked to who's tried it has been raving about how delicious it is. And we drink it during our podcast episodes, and just to give us a jolt of energy. It has 7 superfood mushrooms. So not only do you get the benefits and energy of your cordyceps, but you also get the healthy benefits of lion's mane. It gives you so much focus and immunity support. You also get this really nutrient-rich product that elevates your focus and also elevates your gut. So it's almost like using a smart blend of quality chaga, reishi, shiitake, turkey tail, and your immune system just gets this daily boost of energy. And it also helps to alkalize the effects of coffee's natural acidities.
Yeah, definitely. And what I really love about it is that they have a gold standard for their manufacturing, which I think is really important, which tells us that they have high standards, obviously, as do we here at Bold and Vulnerable. The benefits that you're receiving in 1 cup of coffee are just outstanding.
It's kind of like an anti-inflammatory for your body, which is absolutely amazing. And not only that, it has a wonderful taste. So I think that's everything that people are looking for. Even people that don't drink coffee, I think will probably enjoy the taste of La Repubblica coffee.
We have a discount code for you. It is all caps vulnerable 15.
Head over to larepublicasuperfoods.com and type in vulnerable 15. When you check out, you will receive a 15% discount on all of La Repubblica's mushroom coffee.
Get yourself an amazing adaptogenic cup of coffee.
Millana Snow has been practicing and studying all things holistic health and spirituality for over 20 years. She has built an energy healing business that serves thousands of clients worldwide. Millana is the CEO and founder of Wellness Official, an online marketplace of practitioners and brands for the global wellness community. As an internationally recognized wellness expert, Millana has been invited to speak at NYU, Syracuse, Summit LA, PopSugar PlayGround, Blogger Heath, Soho House, and many more. Millana is the host of the Wellness Official radio show on Dash Radio with 10 million listeners per month, a weekly show that pushes the boundaries of wellness. She has brand partnerships and campaigns with Nike, Lululemon, YSL, Covergirl, and Toyota. Millana is also the model winner of Project Runway and the winner of the Best Travel and Adventure Show, Webby Award. Enjoy this episode with Millana.
Hey everybody, this is Svetlana here with the Bold and Vulnerable podcast, and today I'm really excited to be bringing on a very special guest that I've been connecting with for a while, and she's so wonderful and so charming and beautiful. Her name is Millana Snow. I pronounced that correctly, right?
Yes.
I'm so excited to have you on. For our listeners that may not be familiar with Millana, she is a wonderful energy healer and a tech CEO, bridging the gap between health and wellness and making it affordable, from my understanding. Is that correct?
Yes, definitely.
Yes.
Thank you.
So if there's anything that I missed out, I just want to let you take off and be the center of our show and tell us a little bit more about yourself, your journey in the health and wellness field, and, you know, even being a tech founder.
Yeah, well, first of all, thank you so much for having me. I really appreciate it. I know we've been talking a lot in like social media world for a while, so it's nice to finally get on this this interview. And no, I think you pretty much nailed it. I am an energy healer, and I have kind of a non-traditional path in that I am a healer, and I also am an entrepreneur in the wellness world. And for the past 10 years, I've been bringing holistic practitioners into spaces where they may not have been otherwise. And so that has included everything from hotels around the world to doing things like rooftop yoga and meditation, guest programming, but also working with brands like Alexander Wang and Nike and Reebok, and just the list goes on, bringing more holistic wellness and the practitioners who are the professionals in the space and to new audiences that may not have had exposure to these practices, to these lineages, and to these healing modalities. And so that's really my passion, to bring wellness to as many people as possible. And technology is just one of the ways that we can scale that mission.
Yes, definitely. So taking it back to getting into this space, because I know your history you're multidimensional as we all are. And I remember, you know, you started on Project Runway and you've been practicing health and wellness. When did you really get into the energy field and being an energy healer?
Yeah, that's a great question. I would say, I always say that it really started when I was a little kid, because I remember being around the age of 4 or 5 and meditating with my grandmother and doing astral projection at like 4 or 5 and practicing leaving my body and looking around my house and walking around my neighborhood, like as from a soul's perspective. Now that I say these things out loud, it's like, I just can't even imagine how that was possible at 4 or 5. It's pretty wild to think about that. But, you know, ever since I was very, very young, I've been on this path and felt very open to it and passionate about it. And so, you know, starting meditating and doing that work at that age, it really just kind of sped up from there. And I really just had a deep curiosity and just openness for all things spirituality. I studied a lot of religions as a kid, read like the Bhagavad Gita, which is the Hindu Bible, basically, when I was like in middle school. I mean, it was just, I was very weird in a lot of ways. And so I would say that my journey really started as a child and really practicing energy healing without knowing that that's what it was. I never knew at that time that that could become a job or a career or something that someone got paid for. I just did it because it was fun and I was young enough to not doubt it. So I had a lot of freedom to explore things that maybe if I had been older, I would have dismissed as not being real or too afraid to pursue. And just really getting into these things as a child opened my ability to just say yes and not doubt it so much.
So I'm curious. I'm curious about a lot of things, but first of all, I want to say that how cool that you were practicing astral projection at 4 or 5. And I don't think any of that is weird, honestly, because I feel like empaths and we're all empaths, especially when we're kids, babies, we're little geniuses. It's just
Absolutely.
It's when we start to become boxed in by societal's rules and standards that we really, I feel, lose touch with our innate abilities to be healers and to be powerful beings. And I think it's really cool that your grandma was practicing meditation with you and like doing all these amazing things with you and opening you up to that. So when did you decide to make it a career, and did you have doubts at that time once you actually went fully into it?
Yeah, so I want to first give credit to my grandmother, Margie, because she is still in my life very much to this day. And we always say that we are soul connected. We have a very, very deep soul tie. And so I am just so grateful that I just was given this connection in this lifetime with her and really kind of shepherd into being able to go deeper into my own personal practice and find what my own beliefs were. And so it really took me a few years before I realized, maybe more like 2 decades before I realized that this was something that, like I said, could be a job. I had no idea for many years, outside of like the religious context of like being a reverend or a preacher, and then like, having the church pay your salary or whatever. That was like the only context of which I understood that paradigm of like being able to exchange in that way. And so I would say it was probably back in 2012 when things really started to shift for me. I had just gotten back from China. I had one Project Runway in 2010, and then at the end of 2011, I had booked a amazing role as a host for a travel show. And in 2012, the following year, we ended up actually winning a Webby Award for Best Travel and Adventure Show. And having those 2 years back to back at like 23 and then 24, right after graduating from college, I really kind of had this perspective like, okay, if it doesn't feel like as deep and real as the experiences I had in China and even my experiences with Project Runway, which is a whole other story, but definitely a very deep spiritual story. And if it didn't feel like those two experiences, and I don't want to do modeling. I don't want to like have to fit a certain size and straighten my hair so I can look like what I'm supposed to look like. I was just like, I'm done with that shit. So I really realized it was time when I got back from China to really do only what felt as good as that trip did. And so I started, I had this opportunity to start rooftop yoga at the James Hotel, which is this amazing hotel in Soho, New York, still there today, has one of the best views in New York. And I had this literal vision after setting this intention to do something that I felt was really like meaningful as a job. I had this vision to do rooftop yoga, and I was not a teacher. So I hired some of my teacher friends and we did it together. My friend Brigitte Bardot, that's her real name. She came and joined me for that for the first season in 2012. And that's when everything really started to open up and made me realize that there was a transition that was happening in consciousness and just like in our culture, that people were more open to healing and to connecting in more authentic ways, that it was time for me to just do my part to bring that all together. So it really wasn't until probably 2014, maybe 2015, did I start to then say, okay, thanks for coming to our yoga class. If there's anybody that would like to receive energy healing, I'll be doing that after the class. And then slowly and surely, I started to really experience that. I should also say really quickly that I at the time was meeting so many amazing practitioners, and my dear friend and advisor, Sanyu Brigawa, did an energy healing Reiki session on me for the first time. And that was also something that really opened up my mind to realizing like, oh my God, we all have this in us, and we have all, most of us have denied that because of what it looks like to the outside world. And now I'm going to finally open that up. And I had the perfect audience, was the rooftop yoga. And so that was how I started to do that.
That's amazing. Wow. So it sounds like the whole experience with Project Runway and modeling was in a way a awakening for you to your truth.
Yeah, definitely. I think for me it was well, Project Runway was a very deep experience because I felt the entire time that was a very deep spiritual lesson and experience, where I basically, long story short, before I even went to the audition for Project Runway, I got the message that I was the winner. And it was 10 days after I'd graduated from college, and I was kind of like, okay, I'm the winner. I haven't even auditioned yet. I go basically 4 months later, after booking it, doing the show, and a bunch of really mystical experiences throughout, I ended up becoming the winner. And so that 4-month period in 2010 was a really eye-opening, powerful experience for me that just so happened to be captured on international television, with people not being able to know that that's what was happening in the background for me. I'm sure they didn't really care, but at least now it's a good story. So having that experience and then being able to do that in such a mainstream space was like, oh, if it doesn't feel like this, even in the mainstream spaces, which it is now accessible and open to, then like, why am I doing it? So yeah, long story short.
Yeah. So, with energy healing, for people that are not familiar with it, although our listeners are probably mostly familiar with energy because a lot of people that listen to our show are entrepreneurs and, are interested in shifting and elevating their consciousness and switching to this new paradigm, right? Because we can all feel it that as a collective, like you said, people are more open. They're more open to receiving, and they're more open to healing. So how would you describe like what is energy healing for people that don't know, or what is Reiki, and all these different forms of energy healing, and which do you practice?
Yeah, I actually just did an IGTV video about this because it's probably the number one question that I get asked. And I always like to say that, energy healing is actually the kind of umbrella of which many modalities and lineages fall under. So there are literally infinite routes and practices that fall under what we call energy healing. And that is that we are working on the energetic being of ourselves. So we've got a few different layers. We've got the emotional layer, that's like your feelings. We've got the mental, that's your thoughts, your thinking mind, your analyzing mind. We've got the spiritual energetic, which is like what we would call our energy or our spirit or our soul. And then we have the physical layer, which is like what most of us are most familiar with, the physical body and the way that it works. And so when we talk about energy healing, we are working on the energetic spiritual layer of our being, of ourselves, to then impress upon the mental, emotional, and physical layers of our being. And so I always kind of liken it to we're kind of on the opposite side of maybe what you would call like acupuncture, in terms of acupuncture, presses a needle into the physical body to then impress upon the mental, emotional, and spiritual aspects of you. Because, once you do acupuncture, you'll notice like, I just feel better. I just feel more at ease. My thoughts are more calm. Well, we kind of approach it from the other side to eventually get to the physical, working on your chakra system, your auric field, to then eventually start to impact the way that you feel, the way that you see the world, yourself, and then ultimately also even the way that your body works. And so Reiki is one of the lineages that does that. And that's a Japanese lineage that came from Dr. Usui about 100 years ago. And that has about 3 different levels of practitioners. You can be all the way up to mastery level. And I personally am a little bit more ambiguous. Even though I studied Reiki, I don't use the symbols, which is a big part of what Reiki is about. I have developed my own practice, which I now just call integrative energy healing, because I've integrated everything that I know into my own personal practice. And that's what I teach my healer students, to integrate everything that they know into their own intuitive practice as an energy healer. So that I'm really a big supporter of that concept, because I really believe that we all have unique individual healing gifts. And I think it's up to us to develop them and then apply them.
That's honestly probably one of the best explanations I've ever heard anybody give on energy healing and what it is, because that was very thorough, because there are so many ways to go about it. And I love that you created this your own method of like integrative energy healing, because that's basically, I feel like, what I've done in my own practice. I studied Reiki, I studied pranic healing, and I'm a hypnotherapist, and I've basically taken like everything that I've learned and I've seen that really works fast, and just kind of created it into something that just works with everything all together. You know what I mean?
Exactly.
And I love the chakra. I love working with the chakra system and our auras, because I feel like, especially when you work with colors and that's just the very plain, simple, mainstream way of looking at it, right? Like colors, it's so much deeper than that, obviously. But I find that the biggest transformations happen in the shortest amount of time when you're working with the chakra system and our auras, and really just cleaning it, right?
Yeah.
So I'm curious, just for yourself, when you are practicing energy healing and you're working with groups of people, or you're working with somebody one-on-one, how do you take care of yourself?
Yeah, that's a great question. I had to learn that one the hard way. I that was something that I had to learn along the way by trial and error. And one of the things that I really had to learn was to make sure that I cleared myself after each session, and making sure that I'm super clear that the session has ended. I think for me personally, and I've seen this with a lot of healers that I've worked with in my training, is that we can have attachments around our clients, our friends and family getting the healing that we want for them, or that they want for themselves. And I have learned to have a practice of making a very clear choice with myself each time that the session is over, and that my part is done, and that spirit and that person will do their work, and that's not my business anymore. Not that we aren't responsible for our work, or that we're not responsible for how we impact others, but that energetic tie of like, oh my gosh, did I do enough? Are they okay? Is really like outside of our duties. It's really, that's like spirit's job. And so that has been a really big turning point for me, to just like say, we're going to close this door now and let spirit work. We did our work, and that's energetically, like, we need to let that go. And then I would also say that it's really important for healers to see healers. I have a lot of healers that I work with. I have some that I see on a biweekly basis, monthly basis, like a whole troop of healers. And what's really cool is some of them I trade with, and some of them, I invest my finances into and work with in that way. But it's really, really important either way for me to put my energy into the energy of a healing, supportive community. And so I think that's something where a lot of healers kind of miss things because they're so good at doing the work on themselves. I think we often forget that we have to have professionals and a supportive team to support us in a way that we can't. And so I would say those are the things that have been really, really important for me that I make sure that I maintain and keep in mind.
I think that's a really great point. I think you and I have a similar story in that way. I had to learn the hard way where I was feeling really drained and burnt out. And I too had to realize, like, wait a second, I need to clear my field and set the intention. So I would just energetically do a clearing on myself. And I have a whole troop of healers that I work with as well that help me out when I'm, it's basically like maintenance work is how I like to see it. Like I get NSA work done. Have you heard of network spinal analysis?
Yes, I did it in San Francisco. Oh my gosh, where do you go?
I go to Magnolia Wellness. Where do you go?
I think that's where I went.
You're joking. Are you serious?
Yeah, I'm pretty sure that's where I went, and it was amazing.
Is it on Van Ness?
I can't remember.
Well, when you're in SF, we'll go together.
Yeah.
Shout out to Dr. Stephanie if she's listening to this, or Dr. Shay. They're so amazing. That's like my go-to spot. It's amazing. Like you're guaranteed to feel better. And I was recently seeing this Russian pranic healer lady in Sunnyvale who's like crazy. I mean, that's a whole other story. I was telling Jess about it, how, I mean, she literally ran diagnostics on me and my boyfriend. Like she knew stuff that there's no way medically that she could know this stuff. And she had no idea we were even coming in. Like she's like, yes, your, left hip, or, your right breast. Like I'm just coming up with random stuff right now, but like she just knew things that there's just no way anybody could have known.
So amazing.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So, Jess, did you have questions? Because I feel like I'm over here.
I was letting you go on your journey. I just wanted to point out such a great, aspect of any professional in whatever field that you're in, to be authentic and transparent enough with yourself to say, I also need to have blank, right? So you're a healer, but you also need healing. And I think it's so important, even for anyone who's listening, who's maybe not in the healing space, but maybe you're an entrepreneur, maybe you're a leader. It's always good for leaders to seek out a tribe, for healers to seek out a tribe, for anyone in their field, comedians, seek out a tribe. Make sure that you're always getting that, I guess, advice and that mentorship and that self-love and that third point of view to say, hey, this is, another way you could do this, or this is another way that you could heal, or this is another way that you could lead, and really integrating all of those practices into one. So I love how authentic that came to you, but in any field for our listeners, that can be applied to any industry in my mind. And I hope I'm coming across making sense here, but to me, it's something where if you're in a field, you can always learn more, you can always grow, and there's always that aspect of self-healing and 360 kind of viewpoints that are so necessary to moving forward.
Absolutely.
Yeah. So I wanted to, you mentioned your healing journey through Project Runway and how you wanted all of your experiences to feel that authentic and to feel that certain way energetically. But I'm kind of curious, how did that make you feel? Like, what is that feeling that you wanted to feel, that you wanted to continue?
That's a great question. I would say feeling like I'm connected to something bigger than myself and everything that I do. That for me is really, really key. And it's not always palatable, but it is my intention for that to be like the consistent aim. And so, with Project Runway, I was really testing my spiritual practice and connection because I had gotten this like download that I was going to win a reality show that nobody had control over the outcome, like at all. There was 17 models, 17 designers. It was international TV shows, actually the #1 show on television that year. And it was like, there were just so many things that just could not be calculated. And so for me to get a download that I was the winner and that had nothing to do with me being pretty enough or thin enough or walking or wearing clothes good enough, it was literally like me keeping myself in the vibrational state of that outcome, no matter what, no matter how uncertain, no matter how much it didn't look like that at times. And to then see that there are breadcrumbs that the universe leaves for us when we are that bold to still believe when it doesn't make any sense to believe that. I was also considered the underdog on that show. So, in the fashion world, especially back then, being a size 4 is considered very big. And I was like a size 2-4, and I was considered like the big girl on the show, which just shows you how crazy and insane that world literally actually is and was more so back then. And so there were just a lot of different things that happened that I was like, wow, that is super whack. I don't subscribe to any of this. But yet here I am connecting to, this like deeper spiritual path in the craziness of the fashion world and TV in New York. And so being able to experience little like winks from universe spirit that was like, yeah, we even work in these atmospheres and these environments was really, really profound. And so coming out of that, experiencing such deep gratitude that I could find a spiritual connection in sometimes dark space, really made me realize that I can do that anytime, anywhere with anything small or anything that I imagined was big. And that if I'm going to live this life after experiencing that, it's like, okay, that just has to be how I pursue the rest of my life.
Right. I mean, talk about stepping into your authenticity and really stepping into that power. And so from there, I know we've kind of jumped around in your journey, but what drove you to create Wellness Official, and maybe kind of walk us through what the mission is for the company and how you envision it growing through the future?
Yeah, thanks for asking. I would say there were a lot of factors that came up that inspired me to start this journey. I had my first company, Serene, from 2012 to 2017. And so for 5.5 years, we were doing programming all over the world with practitioners all over the world. And it was really an amazing opportunity for me to find a community of healers, and then help connect them to resources and to clients and to partners. And so when I ended that journey, it actually ended because I had a really difficult partnership that I brought in the last year that ended up being a total just bombshell of a way to end a company. And the beauty of that was that in 2017, I had a really humbling moment where I had to really look at myself and realize that my mission was still intact, but that I wasn't stepping up and being the leader, the woman, the individual that was required to do the kind of work that I wanted to do in the world. And that there was a lot of stuff that I needed to look at in myself to really like own my vision and own my mission and be really clear about who and what can take part in that. And so after 2017, I decided to start Wellness Official on my own, like I did back in 2012, and really just get really clear on the fact that there are thousands, if not hundreds of thousands of holistic practitioners around the world who are going to be able to help heal millions of people. And there are multiple ways that that's going to happen, but it can only happen from a unifying force, right? And a unifying power, if you will. And so I knew that my part in this, because I had so many of these connections and I knew so many amazing practitioners all over the world and many corporate and brand partners who wanted to connect with them as well as the client base. I was like, I gotta do this the way that feels most holistically sound for the industry and the individual practitioners to really thrive. And so ever since then, it's been a balance between building out a tech platform that helps connect practitioners to brands and to clients, which we did last year. We launched our beta version with PopSugar at their annual festival to 15,000 women in one weekend. and then taking that product in again and realizing that there was more space for us to continue to do that work. So right now we're rebuilding the platform so that it can really fit the needs of the holistic practitioners. Before it's about fitting the needs of the clients, it was really like, oh, there are holistic practitioners that are artists, that are creatives, that need support to be able to do business at scale, but also be in integrity. And so that's been what's been happening in the background, but simultaneously continuing those relationships with PopSugar and Reebok and Nike, and the list goes on, bringing practitioners, a diverse group of practitioners, and integrity to make sure that practitioners are getting paid and that we're able to reach more people and have a greater impact in that way. So that's where we're at right now. We're working with a few clients at the moment. We're actually doing a big event with PopSugar on March 7th, where we've booked one of the most diverse lineups of holistic practitioners I've ever seen for a major wellness event. So I'm really excited about that, and we're going to continue to do that moving forward.
Oh my gosh, that's amazing. That event sounds, I'm just so happy that this is the direction that your company is going, because you're right, there are so many creatives out there that just don't have the platform to put out their services, and their services are most likely much needed. Hey listeners, quick interruption to your podcast. For those of you that can't see Svetlana and I right now, we both have coffee mugs in our hand, and we are always sipping on our La Repubblica coffee. And you guys can actually enjoy the benefits and the adaptogens and all the beautiful qualities of this coffee as well, because they are actually our partners and our sponsors.
Well, I'm obviously sipping on my La Repubblica coffee right now. I can't do a podcast interview without it. Nothing really works the way that this stuff works. There really is something in this coffee, and I mean it's the mushrooms, it's the reishi that gives you sort of like that zen feel.
I know it's wintertime right now, and if you guys maybe are feeling a little stuffy or feel a little tingle in your throat, this is the perfect elixir that can not only fight a common cold, but it helps your skin glow, your hair grow thicker, and reduces inflammation in your body. Chaga is amazing. It also contains cordyceps for better performance and increased energy, but not the crash that coffee might give you from a caffeine standpoint.
Combating mom brain and fatigue right now, it's really helping me maintain focus and maintain that sustainability that I need to get on throughout my day, especially with a newborn and running multiple businesses.
You guys are going to love this coffee. Not only does it have the 7 adaptogenic mushroom extracts, but it will certainly transform your morning coffee ritual. And it's really something that you can integrate really easily into your peak performance habits.
I can attest to La Repubblica's coffee being one of the best elixirs that I've tried thus far, and I have tried several. I never, ever, ever talk about products unless I love them. If you guys are interested, we do have a discount code. It is
vulnerable, all caps 15. So vulnerable 15. Head over to larepublicasuperfoods.com and type in vulnerable 15. When you check out, you will receive a 15% discount on all of La Repubblica's mushroom coffee. Thanks for listening. Go grab your 15% discount. And now back to our episode. Speaking of industry and kind of tech and where things are going, what do you think some of the biggest trends are that you might predict in 2020? And like, what are some of the big creative, holistic practices that are coming out in the healing world right now?
Oh man, there's so many. There's so many. I mean, I actually, right before this call, I had, it's so amazing how these things work these days, because I've been working with practitioners for so many years, and before so many of these modalities have become trendy in the Western world. We have to really recognize and give credit to the fact that many of the things that we as Americans are just now finding out about are literally thousands, if not hundreds of thousands of years in the works for other cultures, right? And so I think one of the things that I'm really starting to get excited about, and also I'm having to and have challenges with and having to really help other people learn about, is that point right there. And that's even in some ways becoming a trend, that people are starting to finally wake up and realize that, Gusha and Vedic astrology and all of these things, or even Kabbalah, are literally ancient practices that us Westerners are just now starting to get privy to, and that there's a deep sacredness that we really need to like respect and maintain with those lineages and the people that they came from. And so I think that actually is one of the biggest things that's transitioning right now. I think people are starting to wake up to the fact that we're kind of late to the party, and that there's a lot that we need to learn and respect in those lineages. And that's myself included, being an American woman. And I think with that being said, from those ancient modalities, a lot of these are becoming more mainstream because a lot of them have some really relevant, uses in our modern age. And I would say one of them that comes up is actually gua sha, because, it's been around in Asian cultures for literally centuries. And now we're realizing, oh, wow, I don't want to have to use all these chemicals. I don't want to have to use all these fillers. And there's like some massages that I can do and some tools that I can use, and that can actually do the same thing. So that's something that I think is really becoming an interesting intersection, that particular modality, but also this intersection of where beauty and wellness meet. And I think that's where we're going to see a lot of these ancient traditions come into a more mainstream focus. And to be also honest, they'll probably be more, monetized and monetizable, but also just seeing that this is also a really good thing, that we're finding new ways to be beautiful from an inside out perspective. And so that's something that I'm seeing is happening a lot in many ways.
Yeah. Gua sha. Am I pronouncing it correctly? Gua sha?
Gua sha, yes. I think I pronounced it wrong twice already.
Yeah. I was actually just reading about it recently, and I had heard about it a while ago. My mom was in the beauty industry, and I remember like even she would tell me just like certain things that I could do naturally with my face, like just massages of like just going up with like my hands. I'm like actually touching my face as I do this. Just certain ways of like maintaining our physical essence, rather than instantly going for like the toxic chemicals or the things that our body really doesn't need. So it's funny that you bring up that point, that's like becoming more mainstream when all of this stuff is so ancient and old. And I was laughing as you were saying that we're late to the party, because it really does feel that way sometimes, how like we're playing catch up.
Definitely. And we what's funny about us too is like we're late to the party and we think we're the coolest ones there.
Well, yeah, exactly. It's like, how you see all this stuff on Instagram nowadays where like JP Sears is have you heard of him?
Yeah, I have, but I'm not super familiar.
Well, he makes fun of new agers, and it's really funny because he just doesn't. He's a woke teacher as well, but he's a comedian, and he makes fun of all this like new age stuff, like how we're all of a sudden waking up and it's like, yes, I'm a shaman now, or yes, I'm now like they went to Rhythmia and had their first, and this is like, I'm not bashing any of this, I just think it's really funny how like I went to Rhythmia and I had my first awakening, and I decided I'm gonna be a shaman, without really understanding like the cultural heritage behind it and respecting it, as you said, which I think is so important.
No, I'm glad that someone's making like fun of it, because we need to actually laugh about it, because in a lot of ways it's really sad. It's like we need to laugh about it so we don't cry, because there's a lot of space here for us to actually like not cause harm, and for us to really be aware of how, appropriating certain cultures without giving credit or bringing those communities in can really actually be harmful and actually dilute the power and the medicine that we're trying to get. And so I think it's really important that we just like start to like understand that in this larger context of what we call wellness today, because we're going to miss out and we're going to hurt people if we don't, because I would rather learn some of these techniques from someone who came from like 15 generations of that thing than like Millana, who's, been practicing it with her grandma. It's like, let's
let's really dig into the potency of where these things come from.
I really respect and appreciate that you say that you're like, let's laugh about it because it could be sad. And yeah, you're so right. You could hurt some people. And that's how I feel about it too. Like I love going to the source. I love learning from the source, or learning from somebody that really has like what we say is like that rich heritage behind it, versus just reading about it like on some, I don't know, the Cosmopolitan or something, you know what I mean? Like I really respect, like I guess it's like I respect elders or people like, you know, the person that comes to mind for me when I think of like I just mentioned shamanism, I think of like Shaman Durek. Like if I were to want to learn about shamanism, shout out to Shaman Durek, I love him. I would want to learn from him because I consider him a real shaman.
Yeah, and I think what's really interesting is that, you know, it's like not to take away from us who are first generation learning these things. One of the things that I've found working with, you know, clients one-on-one is that we all have our own unique lineages where these medicines and these gifts flow to us even more naturally than it would for someone else from a different lineage. And so I think it's like so important for us to honor everybody's unique lineage and gift, but also to tap into our own and see like, whoa, what is it that I'm carrying around from my lineage, from my ancestors that I maybe didn't know that I had, that is natural to me. And there's, I think, something really beautiful when we start to tap into that for ourselves.
Yeah, definitely. And yeah, we're not bashing anybody that is newer to the industry or I guess like throwing any sort of like negative energy. It's just like I think really important, like we talked about, like to have respect and to really honor like where it came from, and what you said, we all have something within our lineage that we can pick up and like and hone in on. So I love that we're on this topic, honestly.
Yeah.
I can go on and on about it, and I feel like I hate to say that I have a little bit of a mom brain and pregnancy brain, whatever, but like sometimes I feel like, I don't know if you can hear in my train of thought where like my brain sort of kind of like goes into like 15 different directions, and like I don't know if it's like
no, you're good.
It's the fatigue or something, because I'm like, did that question or are my sentences and statements making sense? Because like sometimes I'm like, what did I just say? My brain
totally.
I'm just saying like, because I'm like over here like, wait, what did I just say? But you know, one of the things that I wanted to ask you was more about Wellness Official, because I love the mission behind it and what you're doing and how you're unifying all of this. What's next? What's to come? Like, what can we expect? Because when I go on the site, I see like join the wait list. I'm like, ooh, can I see more?
Totally. Yeah. Well, I think there's a few things. One of the things that I am most excited about is the fact that we are behind the scenes connecting so many practitioners to amazing opportunities and brands. And we do it without strings. You know, every single practitioner that we booked for PopSugar, we give them direct connection to PopSugar and vice versa. So if they want to work together in the future, they do. And then we continue to pitch them. If it was a great fit, we continue to pitch them and try to work with them even more. And that is the kind of thing that we're doing across the board between New York, London, LA, I mean, literally all over the US. So that is probably what will change about that is that process, which is happening very much behind the scenes, and you kind of would only know it if you were working with us in that way, is now going to become something that everybody will be able to see and be a part of, so that we can list out opportunities to clients, practitioners that we have clients for, and say, hey guys, we've got an amazing opportunity in San Francisco, boom, we're going to send it to all of our San Francisco practitioners, and then here you go, let us know who's interested. And so that is probably going to be what will change and be the bigger opportunity for us as a community, for us to be able to scale up these opportunities and the amount of people who can start to connect with these clients, but also the bigger audiences that those clients provide.
So, because you're CEO of a tech startup and also this wonderful energy healer, healing and impacting the world, all the different hats that you have to wear, right? Like, I can see you going in and out. Even like when we talk, as we're talking about Wellness Official and everything that's happening behind the scenes, and then we'll switch off to like talking about energy healing and rooftop yoga. Like, how is that like for you to have to constantly switch to different hats? I'm just curious because I feel like a lot of our listeners can relate to that, especially the solo entrepreneurs.
Totally. Yeah. Well, thank you. I'm glad that it sounds fluid. I think what a big change for me was giving myself permission for all of these things to be okay and compatible, like that they don't have to be in opposition. I really decided just even end of last year that I was really going to approach my business as an entrepreneur differently than like the typical VC fundraising route that works for a lot of people. Doesn't work for me. Didn't work for me last year. And I had to really just kind of resign to the fact that like everything that I do has to be in a certain rhythm and in a, like attuned and aligned with something that is bigger than my own plan. And so I've really given myself permission, especially in the past, like I would say 3 to 6 months, where I'm just like, all of this is integrated. Like it's not Millana, the energy healer, and then Millana, the CEO that's talking to the tech team in India. It's all the same thing. And it's okay for me to seem weird to some people. I remember at one point when I had my last company and things were really going south with my business partners at the time, there was a lot of conflict around me being an energy healer. And, I was like told, why don't you just go be an energy healer and we'll take care of this. And I really bought into that. I really thought like, oh man, me being an energy healer means I can't also be a part of, the tech and the business, and that those two things conflict. And what was really one of the most transformational experiences of that painful end to my first company was that all of these things do go together, and one is not bigger than the other, that I need to integrate this whole part of me and vice versa. So I think, long story short, I know I have really long answers.
No, I love it. I appreciate it because there's nuggets there. There's nuggets.
Yeah, I mean, the way that I talk to my clients, whether it's literally, Nike, Condé Nast, PopSugar, Soho House, nonprofits at the border, is the same way I'm talking to you guys. I don't change that anymore. And I used to be different. I used to have to put on like my professional language hat. And it's like, no, this is it. How am I going to change things if I don't actually like just be real?
Yes.
And be where I'm at. And so, even right now I have an interesting partnership challenge, a little dilemma where something really didn't go energetically correct on the other side. And it's like, as a CEO, if I were just wearing that hat, I would probably just be like, well, this is business and let me just like go after them, but as a person who's like, no, I'm also aware that there's bigger things at play than just this is business. So I have to actually approach this challenge, this quote unquote injustice with a lot more mindfulness than just business. And so I think it's integration of the self in every area of our lives. And I really, really, really have worked and continue to work to make sure that these are not hollow words, but this is my everyday practice, because that's what it is, a practice.
Yes. Oh my God. I love that. Millana for president. Oh my God. Thank you. I think you just gave permission to so many people that are struggling with that, where they're like, well, if I'm this person, then I can't be that. How about I get to be this and more, because exactly. I am so much more than just a CEO or a real estate agent or whatever you may be. You're allowed to be so much more because we're multidimensional beings. So kind of going back a little bit, you said that you do things a little bit differently. You're not interested in the VC tech startup, like you're not interested in getting like venture capitalists to fund your business. I'm just curious if you can share, like, how are you growing and expanding your business?
Yeah, I mean, it's really, it's crazy that this is what I'm about to say is like not the average answer for this question, which is we're making money now. Like, I'm not waiting to make money. I'm not waiting to be profitable, like to build a product and then hopefully be profitable in 5 years. We're making money now. You know, we have when we work with clients, they pay us to bring in practitioners. They give us a budget and we bring in practitioners, and we pay practitioners from that budget. And so, you know, everything from, you know, me doing keynote speaking opportunities to mass meditations to bringing in practitioners for major activations and partnerships, we charge people money. And in some cases a lot, you know? And so that was really what I had to like wrap my head around, like, oh, these things already have value. We're already doing the work. We're already providing a service. And, you know, I've had a lot of practitioners who've come to me and say, can you please be our manager? Oh my God, can you please, like, what do I got to do to like get more help from you? So we've really like come to the realization that we didn't need to rely on projections of what things could be, that actually we have a business and that we needed to build our business in a real way. I think that's one of the things I realized last year. There's so much that's around speculation, and also like the good old boys club, like what school did you go to and who do you know? And if you knew somebody and you went to a school, then we'll give you money. And I realized like that was not a game that, one, I was going to be able to play very well. And then two, that it was even necessary, because when I looked at my books, I'm like, wait, we actually can build a real business, and then we won't even need to owe somebody 40% of our company or 51% of, you know, or whatever. So really changing that paradigm and having, I think, the boldness and the courage to actually say, you know what, I actually don't think that paradigm is really working. And I think that there's a reason why the speculation of, you know, billions of dollars, like what happened with WeWork, is really problematic. Why thousands of people got laid off from their job, despite, you know, the founder getting $1 billion payout when he left. So there's something about that paradigm that needs to change. I'm not going to be the one to change it, but I did realize, you know, after really working through it and really like figuring like, why is this thing so not working out for me? And it was like, oh, because that is not a paradigm that I fit in, and I don't want to try to fit into that. Let's go make money. Let's go build a business. Let's go work with people that actually are doing good work in the world, instead of let's get people to volunteer until we can make some money or raise some money. No, let's just build a big business, a good business that really has impact. And so that's been the major transition that I've had, I'd say, in the past 6 months.
Yeah, and I love that you have that mantra and that mission, because I think too many times, I mean, we're all healers on this call, but for anyone listening too, I mean, too many times have we given our services away for free? Too many times have we, you know, healed people and not gotten anything back in return? And I'm not saying that that's a bad thing by any means. Sometimes it's 100% necessary to fill yourself up and to fill your bucket and fill their bucket. But at some point, there comes a time where, you know, if you are making this your living, then, you know, our world systemically works off of financials, and that's just the way that it is right now. And so in order to survive, you know, you have to charge for your wonderful services. So I love that you have that mantra and mission to kind of create the platform where, again, creatives and healers and people of all modalities can come together transparently and work with some of those bigger companies that I'm sure working with them is just eye-opening, because I came from the corporate world, and it's kind of like, there's so many things going on inside of companies that they truly want that wellness. They want that healing. They want people to come in and provide those services. Yeah, I love what you're doing. I think it's absolutely wonderful. And being respectful of your time, maybe you can shout out for us where people can find you, your website, your handle, Instagram, where you're most active. And that way we can link everything in the show notes for everyone to kind of click and get to you easily.
Thank you. Yes. I am on Instagram at Millana Snow. That's Millana Snow. And we're also active at Wellness Official on Instagram. And like you guys said, if you are interested in what we're doing, you can go and put your name on the list. What's interesting about when you go to wellnessofficial.co and you put your information there is we're seeing who's coming in, and we're actually including them in opportunities where it makes sense in the cities that we have opportunities coming up. So it's good to put your info in there if you can. If you ever have any questions or ideas, please just DM me on Instagram, or you can also email me at hello@millanasnow.com or milana@wellnessofficial.co.
Amazing. So 2 questions we always ask our guests. First one is very easy. What book or books have you most gifted, or would you recommend to our listeners that are either in your space or completely outside of your space?
Ooh, that's a great question. Well, one, I have to say, for a book that I would like to recommend is one of my good friends who just published one of his books, his first book. It's called Stay Woke, and his name is Justin Michael Williams. And he is an amazing meditation teacher and singer. And he just wrote this book that I have been reading and have been like so blown away by. So Stay Woke by Justin Michael Williams. And then, what's the other one? Oh, well, I'm reading a book right now. Let's see, I'm like literally trying to move it over. Let's see. I'm reading The Way of the Psychonaut by Stan Grof. Dr. Stan Grof is like just the OG of psychedelics and psychedelic medicine and psychedelic therapy. And I'm really intrigued by his clinically backed work, and he's really like a revolutionary. So I highly recommend his books.
Amazing. Well, thank you for sharing those. And we'll link those books in the show notes as well, so you guys can have easy access to those. And before we head out, this is the Bold and Vulnerable podcast. So could you give us one vulnerable moment in your life, whatever that may be? We've gone so deep already, but maybe your most vulnerable moment that's helped you move forward. And what was that for you?
Ooh, God, that's a good question. Wow. It's hard to say what that would be, because I just have so many all the time. I would say maybe one of the most impactful that comes to mind is just realizing that I need help from professionals that can help me, whether that's a mental health professional with therapy, or my EMDR therapist, or my teacher, Dr. Clara. Just like coming to the realization that no matter how much work I've done on myself, no matter how many now decades have I been doing it in a serious way, I still need a community of professionals to support me, and to get to those points sometimes where it's like, man, I can't get to this thing that's really hurting or that's keeping me up at night, or just getting to that vulnerable point where it's like, because I need help from someone else. And I think for me, that has been one of the most profound transformational moments of just coming back to that. Oh, I need help.
Wow. I feel you on that. I really do. I have a lot I can share on that just from personal experience. Just coming to terms with, hey, you know what? It's okay to see a therapist, or it's okay to reach out to a friend, or even somebody you don't really know, and say, hey, I really need some help. I'm struggling. Even though I am considered a quote unquote expert in this field, I'm also still human, and yes. I have feelings and I have emotions, and sometimes I'm in pain.
Yes.
So yeah, thank you for that. I really, really appreciate you giving that honest and vulnerable answer, and we really appreciate that. And I think that the listeners can appreciate that as well.
Thank you.
Thank you for coming on the show today, Millana. I enjoyed so much listening to you and learning from you and growing. And I feel kind of healed right now. So thank you.
Thank you.
If you're a business owner or just want to hear more, stay tuned for more bonus content with Millana after the show. Thank you for listening to the Bold and Vulnerable podcast. For more information on today's speaker, please visit us at boldandvulnerablepodcast.com.
And don't forget to rate, review, and subscribe. Let's keep spreading the love by being bold and vulnerable. Thank you. We love you.
I feel peaceful.
Yeah, I feel like I learned. Yeah, you have such an amazing, just your presence. It's
you have this peace that comes with you. I can't explain it, but I can feel it.
Thank you. It's just the work, ladies.
That's oh yeah.
That's all you're feeling. I didn't come in this way. I mean, maybe I came in this way, but I wasn't always like that.
Oh, yeah. Huge shout out to your grandma. I mean, so cool.
Oh, yeah.
I loved that.
Yeah, hey, it's amazing.
What is your ethnicity? Because we were like looking at you and we're like, she's so beautiful. Like, you look like you are mixed with like I said. It looks like you have some Native American in you. Do you?
You know, there's a family story that we do, but when some of my other family members have done 23andMe, that was disproven. I don't know. So I'm very, very mixed. So my dad is Panamanian, and he is like Afro-Latino, but he also has very recent Chinese ancestors, because the Panama Canal was built by Chinese and Black and indigenous folks. And so there's a lot of like Caribbean, Latino, and Chinese stuff going on my dad's side. And then on my mom's side, my mom is like, you know, American, white woman. We're told we have some Cherokee. My mom's side is actually from Oklahoma, and they have a bunch of land that they basically took from the native people at that time with the United States government. So we have a very interesting lineage there. We still have that land to this day. And my mom's dad was born in London. And so she's got like some of that British blood, and you can definitely see it on my mom's side. So yeah, I'm pretty mixed.
A beautiful mix. I love mixed babies.
Yeah, thank you. Your baby's really cute, by the way.
Oh, really?
I was looking at pictures. I was like, wow, that's a cute baby.
She's such a sweetie. She's
cutie.
It's funny because I just realized that she's mixed. I know she looks, you know, like a white baby, but my boyfriend's, I just found out that my boyfriend's grandmother is actually she's Greek. She's Greek, and she's not even Russian. I was like, oh, I thought your family was Russian. So she's Greek, and there's this whole story of like just this stupid shit around like race, obviously, of like how her his grandfather's family wouldn't accept her because she wasn't Russian, like she wasn't, you know, Christian Russian woman, and there was this whole like drama on their side because she was Greek and French. Sorry, she's Greek and French.
Wow.
Yeah, so there was all this. I'm like, really? Like, I'm like so happy that she's got some of that, like, you know.
Yes,
she's not just like quote unquote purebred.
Yeah, what a cutie! Oh my god, I'm just looking at her right now. Oh my god, what a cutie! What is your background, Svetlana? Are you Russian?
Yeah, I'm Jewish, and so I'm a Russian Jew. I'm actually from Moldova, Chisinau. That's where I was born. Yeah. And my boyfriend is from Tashkent, Uzbekistan. I speak Russian.
Oh, sweet.
So I can technically say that I'm Jewish. I haven't done 23andMe. I wouldn't be surprised if I have like some, I don't know, like possibly like Ukrainian blood or some mixed, because my grandfather's from Ukraine. Our last name sounds kind of German. It's Shvartsburd, which is sort of German-ish. So, I mean, technically, I would say ethnically, like, oh, I'm Jewish, but I kind of see Judaism as a religion more so. And because I was raised to, you know, I was told that I'm Russian and I speak Russian, I'm like, okay, I'm Russian. So it was very interesting and kind of confusing. I actually talked about this on our podcast, like growing up coming here as like a refugee, basically.
Yeah.
Coming here and being told by my family, like, don't tell anyone you're Jewish, just tell them you're Russian, because of all of this discrimination happening against Jews back then.
Wow, that's powerful. What about you, Jessica?
Oh, I'm a white girl. No, I have Irish roots, Irish French roots. But yeah, I'm kind of a mutt and a muddy white person, like we all. Nobody's anything anymore. You know, like we're all so mixed. Everyone is
totally
mixed, and I mean, that's just like the commonality between us all. But yeah, mostly Irish, some French in there, Nova Scotian, which is the French roots.
Cool.
Yeah, a little bit of Canadian. So it's kind of just like the French side of Canada, so Nova Scotia area. So that's kind of where all my like immediate grandparents come from. But then if you kind of go back more, it's a lot back towards Ireland. So it kind of leads back there. Yeah. Yeah. It's so interesting to look at those things and kind of read about your background and kind of where you came from. So it's really cool. But yeah, I mean, I'm like kicking myself. I'm like, man, we didn't even get into, I mean, we probably could have talked for 3 more hours, but we didn't even get into, you know, minority CEO and, you know, how that has been for you. And I totally felt you 100% with being a CEO and being somebody in the wellness space. Svetlana and I attest having to let yourself be that and allow yourself to just be authentic. That is who you are, and you can be so many different things, and you can be multifaceted. And
sometimes we do things that are not always our full rate, and sometimes some people are getting paid a lot because we've got brands sponsoring like certain things, and then some people are getting paid, you know, like a good travel fee, you know, things like that. It's like it always can fluctuate, but I think what's really important is that we just continually push for brands to pay, even if it's not our full rate. So there are definitely things where, you know, practitioners will come to me and be like, okay, I want to work with this brand. They don't have the biggest budget, but like, should I do it? And it's just kind of like sometimes figuring out from a business perspective and from an energetic perspective, like, okay, where does it actually make sense? And sometimes there's a fine line to walk with that, you know?
Sometimes you have to say no. You know? Like,
exactly. And then sometimes you say yes because there's other things that are bigger than money.
It's really funny
figuring
because
out when that is, you know?
I did a session with Njeki, and one of the things we were working around is her stepping into your leadership and asking for more money, like asking to be compensated for what you're worth, you know, like you deserve to be paid more, and don't let people step on you. Yeah, so no, I love her. She's amazing. She's so amazing.
Love that.
I feel like I'm not seeing enough of that in the Bay Area of like bringing wellness into like, and I mean mindfulness, like real like energy, like shifting your paradigm versus like, oh yeah, let's sit down and meditate. Like, wait a second, like it's a little bit more than that. It's not like just sit down and meditate, especially for people that have never really like experienced it before.
Totally. Yeah, there's a lot of space to really start getting into those corporate offices.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, this was so nice. We'll have to all get together.
I know.
Yeah, for sure. Sounds good. I just realized that I definitely have to go.
Yeah. Thank you so much.
I'm running so late, but honestly, I had such a great conversation with you guys that it was such a pleasure. And thanks, ladies. Have a good rest of your day.
You too. Bye-bye.
Bye.
Bye.